Hey guys, Crypto Sunday, dead flat this week, so not a huge amount sort of going on price-wise, but rather a lot of news, so let's have a look. So Cathie Wood and ARK Invest, from what I understand, some people had discussed, sort of put forward the idea to the SEC of an Ethereum spot ETF a little while ago. Obviously we've had Bitcoin spot ETFs all put through, and they sort of broached the idea of an Ethereum one, and were basically told sort of don't even apply, because we're not going to consider it, and it'll just look bad for you guys to be sort of continually rejected. So they're basically saying sort of don't even apply for it. Obviously, you've had quite a few developments since then. The grayscale issue, obviously the XRP ruling, sort of saying XRP isn't a security. I guess that was one of the sort of stumbling blocks. Obviously, Bitcoin they have issues with, but they say it's not a security. So there's kind of still a little bit up in the air as to what the SEC think of Ethereum itself. But yeah, they seem to be sort of potentially allowing it to at least be applied for, or maybe ARK have just said sod them saying don't apply for it, we're going to go for it. But yeah, see what happens. Presume this is them assuming a Bitcoin ETF is going to get approved, and they want to be first in line for the Ether one as well, because they are first in line for the Bitcoin one. But yeah, whether they'll sort of actually get it because they're first in line is probably not really the case. That is what JP Morgan are saying. So interesting sort of. Obviously, Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JP Morgan, has been sort of extremely pessimistic and critical of crypto, but this is analyst, I'm not going to try and pronounce that because it would be offensive to him, I'm sure, Nicholas. But yeah, he has said he's basically of the opinion, similar to a lot of people, that the SEC, off the back of the grayscale decision, will sort of be forced to approve all of them, with the decision following the SEC versus Ripple case as well. It raised optimism that the SEC crackdown would lessen going forward as the SEC faces legal challenges. And yeah, now the sort of possibility that they could either withdraw all of these applications, or sort of reject all of these applications and withdraw the futures ETFs, he's saying would look embarrassing for the SEC to have approved something and then gone back on it. They've obviously just issued the or approved the 2x leverage futures ETFs, so yeah, to sort of revoke that within a couple of weeks would seem a little bit crazy. They're saying instead it looks much more likely they would be forced to approve all of the spot ETFs pretty much that are on the same terms, and including from Grayscale. Unfortunate thing for Grayscale moving to an ETF. I'm guessing they hope they would increase their market price, because there is a big discount to what the net asset value should be, but they get 2% a year on, or they basically remove 2% of the Bitcoin. So where it's been 50% discounted to the price as well, they're essentially sort of removing 4%, as far as you're concerned, to that price, because they remove the Bitcoin, not 2% of the market cap. So yeah, Grayscale would probably have to lower their fee from 2% to maybe sort of 0.5% to 0.75, depends what the others are going to go for. If there's sort of 7 or 8 ETFs, then they're all going to be fighting on price, and you would expect BlackRock to be sort of fairly low. I think the rumours have been sort of 0.7% or so. So that would be good. That'd be sort of better for the industry than just having Grayscale and proxies like MicroStrategy, which obviously isn't a Bitcoin ETF. But speaking of MicroStrategy, they have had a slightly positive development. The Financial Accounting Standards Board in the US have changed how they have to report crypto. So it's sort of previously was reported as an intangible asset, which is a little bit odd since you can sort of sell it on exchanges at any time. So I would call it sort of more close to cash and other cash equivalents, considering you can even sell it on a Sunday morning at 2 in the morning. But that's the way they wanted to do it, and it's sort of, from what I understand, means when it went up, that was just sort of seen as fine, it's gone up, but you can't report that. And if it went down, you have to report a loss on it. So that seems a bit of a double standard, sort of unfair way of reporting, basically. Now they're saying it should be reported at fair value. So this sort of creates non-cash items on the balance sheet. You know, if you buy a load of Bitcoin at 20,000 and it goes up to 40,000, you report that as profit, even though you haven't actually sold it or made any cash. And then similarly, if it drops back down to 20,000, then you report that as a loss, even though you haven't sold, which is sort of what is affecting companies like Amazon with their investment in Rivian, and sort of various other companies, like writing down investments that they hold, even though they haven't actually sold the investment or realised anything. It shows as a net loss. But yeah, this is sort of fairer than what they had, at least. You know, if it goes up, then they're allowed to report the increase. So people are saying that this, or Michael Saylor of MicroStrategy, of course, he's going to be bullish. He's saying this eliminates a major impediment to corporate adoption of Bitcoin as a treasury asset. So whether other companies are going to start to maybe allocate a small amount of crypto on their balance sheets, that was one of the sort of potential bullish cases in the last bull market. Sort of adoption meaning companies like Google, say, sort of hold 100 billion of cash on the balance sheet. Maybe they would put a couple of percent into Bitcoin just as a sort of speculative alternative to treasuries, which sort of at the time were yielding like 1%, and Bitcoin was rocketing up. So yeah, they could put maybe 2 billion, and that would be sort of an enormous buy. The original Tesla sort of bull market buy that was a huge catalyst was 1.5 billion. So yeah, you could get some of these big companies. Apple I think have got 70 or 80 billion in cash. Microsoft sort of, I can't remember, 100 billion in cash. Google have got 100 billion. All of these companies have sort of got vast amounts of money, and maybe they would sort of take a little bit of risk. Apple, obviously, Tim Cook at the helm has said that he owns crypto himself. I think he said Bitcoin and Ethereum from memory, but yeah, you'd have to sort of check that video. But he said it was interesting as part of a diversified portfolio. So whether he means just for himself, or he did say Apple don't own any, but sort of whether he would now be comfortable with them owning some, who knows? But we'll see what this brings. And then sort of few bits and pieces, really. Coinbase Circle and the altcoin Aave have built a working group to encourage others to bring traditional finance assets on chain. So this is one of Larry Fink of BlackRock's sort of bull cases for crypto, sort of tokenizing traditional financial assets, whether it be sort of stocks, bonds, real estate, and all sorts of stuff. And yeah, Coinbase and Circle and Aave are trying to push that. Whether it sort of can get into, you know, decentralized finance, you know, trading sort of your home online, or part tokenizing your home and sort of selling 1,000th of your home. I'm not sure I can really see that anytime soon, but yeah, they think the Boston Consulting Group said that they think tokenized assets could hit 16 trillion by 2030. So bit of a bold prediction, and I never like these sort of by 2030 predictions because I always think people have forgotten by then, and if it doesn't happen, no one's going to be going back to Boston Consulting Group saying, well, you said this. Whereas if it does, they'll be singing it from the rooftops and they'll be proclaimed geniuses. So, yeah, I prefer a little bit shorter term predictions than that. Maybe sort of a couple of years. But we've got $500 billion Korean asset manager is using Polygon Labs to sort of build tokenization infrastructure. So obviously all the different sort of layer ones and layer twos are going to be fighting over this business if it is going to be $16 trillion, as Boston says. But yeah, we'll have to see sort of who the winners are. The London Stock Exchange is sort of talking about tokenizing financial assets. They haven't sort of mentioned any particular cryptocurrency, and there's sort of assumptions there that I think maybe they would try and create their own centralized blockchain because they haven't sort of really mentioned anything else. So that wouldn't be particularly good and wouldn't really be a change from what the current system is. But yeah, they've sort of been reasonably bullish and sort of, talking positive about crypto in general, if not any specific projects. Swift Chainlink had sort of an experiment running for quite a while. This was sort of very, very bullish when people were first talking about it, and both parties have said the experiments were successful. They have 12 financial partners, including sort of big banks, Paribas and BNY Mellon, Lloyds Banking Group for the UK, and they have said they have transferred tokenized value across multiple private and public blockchains. Private blockchains is sort of quite interesting, whether some of these have sort of their own like JPM coin, the JP Morgan coin type things in their own systems. Don't know. None of these sort of companies have mentioned using a private blockchain, but guessing that is how a lot of the banks would want to work. But yeah, good for Chainlink, I suppose. If not, maybe good for other projects. But they're saying public blockchains as well, so who knows? And a nice bump to Solana. This got a bit of a bump on the release of the news, but hasn't really sort of held it. The Visa tapping up them for the USDC stablecoin. So Visa and MasterCard both seem to be sort of getting somewhat involved in crypto, sort of whether they're feeling that this could potentially eat into their business. Well, not leave them behind, of course, because they are enormous and sort of do the 50,000 transactions a second that a lot of crypto is striving for. They're already there, so yeah, they're at least expanding their use. They were experimenting, I think, with USDC on Ethereum, and yeah, they had a pilot program in 2021 for treasury management purposes. And yeah, they've talked about sort of crypto debit cards and debit cards and, been issuing them to various people. And they're now saying that they're going to give it a go on Solana. They think the stablecoin industry could potentially grow to $2.8 trillion. So there's a lot of trillions getting thrown around, and that was in the next 5 years. So yeah, whether people really want that much stable coins, I'm not sure. But a lot of people say stable coins are very good for countries other than the US wanting dollars, and it's sort of much easier to get them than, trying to exchange through your local banks and foreign exchange companies. Basically, you can, go on Coinbase or wherever you can get your crypto and just buy dollars instantly, basically, and send them to anyone in the world. And Visa are very keen for you to use their network, it seems, or they're at least going to try and make one. And let's finish off, I guess, with a little bit of negative news. So Ethereum despite all of its, layer 2s and adoption, is sort of not really getting used all that much. If you look at it from a burning perspective, at least. The last 7 days, I've sort of been covering this a few times, just seeing how it goes for the week, and it's sort of been varying amounts of decline, but the supply change is up 3,800 Ethereum in the last 7 days. So a lot less has been sort of burnt than issued. This is still obviously, compared to what the old system was before last October, it would have been up 82,000 Ethereum in a week compared to 3,000. So fair enough, but yeah, this has sort of wiped out pretty much all of the, entirely all of the gains for the last month in terms of reducing supply. It's now up 1,000 on the month. If you look sort of, since the merge, it's still sort of trickling down, I guess. June time it was sort of 120,240,000-ish. It's now 218, and did get to sort of 213. But yeah, sort of had this huge spike downwards in what I guess was sort of meme coin fever and Pepe and all that sort of thing. That was an awful lot being burnt, but yeah, we'll see if it sort of carries on. Wouldn't expect with a very quiet market for it to be, burning loads and using the network sort of loads and loads. It needs more adoption and sort of probably the start of a bull market. But yeah, keep an eye on it. So coins for the week. Bitcoin is up 0.5%. Ethereum up 0.17%, pretty much flat. Solana is down 4.6% on the week. Believe this is partly the FTX wallets potentially getting sold off, or sort of news of it. Whether it's actually being sold off, we don't know. I think there is sort of $2 billion worth of Solana still in those wallets. Kind of thought they would be slowly sold off sort of over time because it's still unlocking. But yeah, if they're sort of selling a huge amount, then obviously it is going to dump price pretty hard. If they sold 2 billion all at once, then it probably would go to zero. But I don't really think that's in the best interest of the people running FTX. They're trying to sort of get as much back for their holders as they can. And well, you would think they would be trying to give it back to the holders directly, because not everybody will want to sell. If somebody wants they had their Solana, say, with FTX, and they sort of still want to hold it, then FTX bosses selling it and giving them back the money and then them buying back Solana is not really, not really very good, albeit they might get it at a lower price if they did that. But yeah, I think if they held something on there, you should try and sort of make your best efforts to just give it back to them. But yeah, we'll see where that goes. It's a potential issue for Solana. Chainlink is up 2.4% for the week. Cardano down 1.7%. Still sort of drifting below 20p now. Not many people obviously measure it in pounds. XRP up 0.15%. Quant down 0.2%. Audius up 3.8%, not too bad. Matic and Power Ledger both down 1.5%. Basic Attention token up ever so slightly. Gala token still sort of having issues. The founders suing each other from what I've seen, and sort of all sorts going on there. That may have been a bit of a mistake of an investment, but I'll certainly try and have a sort of a little bit more of a read up and see if it is actually anything to do with sort of the token itself, or if it is just sort of handbags and fighting. VeChain pretty much flat, and Internet Computer down 2.4%. So that does just continue to drift lower and lower, sort of indefinitely, despite all the work that they are apparently doing. But yeah, we're still in sort of boring drift period, sort of waiting for some sort of catalyst, whether the crypto Bitcoin ETFs get approved. Who knows? Could be next month. But yeah, September's normally a bit of a rough month, and the sort of pre-halving years are normally a bit of a sort of boring sideways year. So yeah, we can probably expect a little bit more of this before sort of a better year next year, let's hope. Assuming there's no sort of pandemic or strange event. So yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and like and subscribe. See you soon.